Straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle. So a good performance from...
Hello and welcome to Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get started. Right on the show today, the Commonwealth 2026 Games. Commonwealth Games in 2026's latest announcement of slashing a number of sporting disciplines have resulted in a massive outrage. India is furious as this diminishes their medal-winning chances drastically. Why did Glasgow and the organisers make this call, and what could be the possible fallout of this move? Over in cricket, Pakistan is looking to add a silver lining to a very hazy and gloomy year so far. The third test of the men's cricket team against England begins tomorrow. With the series poised 1-1, can the hosts and their pitch doctors pull off a miracle? And life seems to have come a full circle for Vinicius Jr. The young football star seems to have gone from being one of the most hated to the saviour at Real Madrid. I'll tell you how. But first, let's take a look at the headlines. We'll start with football and the Champions League. Arsenal beat Shakhtar Donetsk 1-0 in the Champions League. The only goal of the match was an own goal from Shakhtar's goalkeeper Dmitro Riznik. The match remained goalless after the 29-minute mark. Arsenal, with 7 points, are fourth in the table. Continuing with football, Nottingham Forest owner Evangelos Marinakis has been suspended for 5 matches for nearly spitting at the match officials. The incident occurred during Nottingham's 1-0 loss to Fulham at home. An independent commission found Marinakis guilty of the offence. In cricket, reports say Indian Premier League franchise Lucknow Super Giants have decided to let go of KL Rahul for the upcoming edition of the tournament. KL Rahul has been with the franchise since its inception in 2022. Despite leading LSG to playoffs twice in 3 seasons, KL Rahul's dip in form has reportedly forced the management to release him. Over in tennis, former world number 3 Dominic Thiem announced his retirement from international sport in his last match. The Australian lost to Italy's Luciano Darderi 6-7, 2-6 at the Vienna Open. The US Open title in 2020 was Thiem's last and only Grand Slam title. In total, he's won 17 ATP major titles across his career. And we'll sum it up with news from basketball. The 2024 NBA season kick-started with Boston Celtics beginning their title defense by beating New York Knicks 132-109. Jason Tatum scored 37 points for the Celtics. Meanwhile, Los Angeles Lakers registered a narrow win over Minnesota Timberwolves. LeBron James scored 16 points to take Lakers to a 110-103 win. Pakistan will do anything they can to replicate what happened in 2021-20 against South Africa. That's the last time the men's cricket team won a test series at home, a little over 3 years ago. The series they are currently playing is, of course, against England, and it started very shakily for the hosts with a humiliating loss at Multan. They became the first team in cricket history to lose a test by an innings and more despite putting up 500-plus runs on the board. Pakistan men's cricket team has sort of made it a bit of a habit to get into record books for all the wrong reasons. That loss opened another classical Pakistan closed-room discussion, which resulted in another typical fallout. Seniors in the Pakistan squad were rested, supposedly Babar Azam, Shaheen Shah Afridi and Naseem Shah. The general feeling is that these players were shown the door.
Taking into consideration the current form and fitness of key players and looking ahead to Pakistan's future assignments in the 2024-2025 international cricket season, the selectors have decided to give rest to Babar Azam, Naseem Shah, Sarfaraz Ahmed and Shaheen Shah Afridi.
But then the tide miraculously changed in Pakistan's favour. The second test saw a different kind of a track. No, it was the same pitch, the very same pitch, but it just started behaving differently. What was a flat batting paradise in the first test became one of the most difficult pitches to negotiate towards the end of the second. Pakistan's gamble of using the same track for the second test and winning that toss all combined well to pay off. And so the series sits level at 1-1. And suddenly, all eyes are on this particular series, whether it's critics or whether it's the fans, Pakistan fans in particular, who had their memes all dished out after that first inning test thumping, are now in for a series decider. And guess what's making all the buzz ahead of the third test in Rawalpindi? It's the pitch. And here's what's going on. Shan Masood, after that second test win, clearly indicated how a spin-friendly wicket is what got them over the line. It was a good toss to win, and with the captain having spoken, the diktat was seemingly clear. Out came the pitch doctors. Giant fans have been whipped out. That looks like that. The kind you see on hot summer nights in huge halls during an event, the kind that will sap out any hint of moisture around it. These fans have been sitting at the two ends of the pitch trying to dehydrate that particular stretch, those 22 yards. There are outdoor heaters and windbreakers all being used to try and make Rawalpindi a turner. Now, here's the issue. Rawalpindi is traditionally not a spin-friendly venue. Yes, Mehdi Hassan from Bangladesh ran through the Pakistan lineup during their whitewash. This happened during Pakistan's humbling series loss just recently against Pakistan. But since Rawalpindi started hosting Test cricket from 2019, it has been one for the Pacers. But seeing these contraptions, those big fans there and everything else that they are trying their hand with, England clearly seem wary and prepared for another spin-laden test. So when England's batter Harry Brook was asked what to expect here in this venue, he said,
God knows, to be honest. Everybody goes and takes a look at the wicket and everybody says something. I just have to wait and see. That's the beauty of batting at number 5. You get to watch first and see what it's doing.
England ought to keep their armoury prepped, which is why the inclusion of the third spinner, Rehan Ahmed. And of course, there's a bit of a change from the squad that they went with, a team that they went with rather in the previous test. Gus Atkinson coming in, the playing 11 that England announced a while earlier. But that's not going to be enough. The toss is critical, one that Ben Stokes has a poor record at. 7 losses at the toss so far. But even so, England did muff up some of the chances that both these sides had in equal measure in that second test. They were caught napping, and Pakistan did well to capitalize on that. I can only imagine what it will do to a country and a cricket system that's starved of something positive for a while now. A series win under a young captain, and without their experienced players in the ranks, will Pakistan finally find that corner in an otherwise horrendous year? The test, of course, starts on Thursday, and everyone will be watching how this plays out. The world is seemingly sold over the idea of leaner and more intimate events, more pacey, shorter duration, revamped formats like Test cricket moving over to T20 or lawn tennis giving birth to pickleball. And this apparently applies to tournaments and mega events too. Commonwealth Games 2026 edition has announced a drastic revamped version. Glasgow will be hosting this edition, and the organizing country, in an effort to rejig the tournament, create some excitement, has decided to slash a majority of mainstream sporting disciplines from its mandate. Here is their reasoning. They want it to be more financially viable. They only have 4 venues, so they can only accommodate certain number and certain kind of sporting disciplines. And they feel with a smaller, more compact event, they will be able to boost viewership further. So what led to this? Why a mega event like Commonwealth Games has come to compromise? It all started with Australia pulling out from hosting this edition. The country stated that the expected cost to host this event could rise up to $4.77 billion. After seeking a new host city for months, Glasgow was finalized, but the biggest concern, of course, remained the cost. Birmingham, the host city of 2022 Commonwealth Games edition, endured a cost of around $962 million. So while Glasgow agreed to host this event, the condition that was put forth was for a watered-down version, and that is why 4 venues, that's it, that fit into their financial scheme have been finalized. The 4 venues picked for the events, of course, Scotstoun Stadium for field games like athletics, Tollcross Swimming Centre for swimming and para-swimming events, Emirates Arena for all indoor games like judo, boxing, weightlifting, and Scottish Event Campus for games like netball. All inside Glasgow, which doesn't require extensive travelling or intense infrastructure development. Now, sure, all of this will help in cutting down the cost, but what they probably did not account for was the kind of backlash this seemingly conservative approach would get them. By scaling down the event, it has hurt the chances of many medal-winning countries, and the country who will face the biggest setback, of course, is India. A lot of these sports have guaranteed India medals for years now, where India have performed well historically. That has helped India finish in top 4 of the medals tally consistently. Yes, cricket was only included last year through the women's category. It still was a medal hope for India, where they narrowly missed out on a gold. But prominent voices in India's sporting fraternity did not hold back once this announcement came through. And you can understand the anger because India won a total of 61 medals at the Birmingham Games, the last edition. Some of the major sporting disciplines where India won medals have been eliminated. In terms of medal count alone, 30 out of the 61 medals came from the sports that have been scrapped for the next edition, which is in 2026. Logically, that leaves India with just 31 medals. So if these sports have been eliminated, it will take a major dent on where India might end up on that points table. So if these sporting events weren't there at Birmingham Games, for example, how would that points table, which India ended up being 4th at, look like? India would have finished 8th in that points table, a far cry from their tabletop finishes. So which countries benefit then from this move? Countries like Australia and England remain unbothered. They'll continue to compete for the top 2 spots, as the removal of these events don't really impact their medal-winning chances. Nor will Canada be affected much, whose primary medal-winning events include swimming, cycling, netball, and athletics have been retained. But given track and field events will continue at the 2026 Games unhindered, Nigeria, Jamaica and Kenya will have a chance to finish in the top 10. With India and Malaysia losing out because of the absence of racket sports, athletics will serve as the key decider as far as where countries really finish at the points table go. Why? Because out of the 1,875 medals awarded at Birmingham Games, 173 came from athletics, which constitutes roughly 10% of the total medals awarded, which is likely to be carried forward onto Glasgow too. That's what we would believe. This is not the first time India has borne the brunt of sporting events being dropped. At the Birmingham Games, in fact, shooting was scrapped out, a sport that has brought India glory enough number of times, which is why former India players are now seething, even asking India to boycott the Commonwealth Games.
I'm deeply appalled and disappointed by the decision to exclude badminton from the 2026 Commonwealth Games in Glasgow, a judgment that appears aimed at stunting the progress of nations like India. We cannot allow such short-sighted decisions to undermine the progress we have tirelessly achieved.
There is no need for the CWG. In my opinion, they should do away with it. It is better to organize the Olympics and the Asian Games than the CWG. I feel strongly we shouldn't send out a team for the CWG. It is not required.
Of course, the biggest setback will be felt by the athletes, many of whom were preparing for that Commonwealth Games edition. Some of them who even started their journey after the 2022 Birmingham edition. Many who were hoping to change the color of their medals from past events. At times when Paris included sports like breaking, Los Angeles is including cricket at the Olympics. Is the Commonwealth Games decision to cut down the scale of the competition a little regressive? What do you reckon? What is it with Real Madrid and comebacks? During the Champions League match against Borussia Dortmund, Madrid bounced back from a 2-goal deficit. Despite trailing 2-0 at halftime, Madrid scored 5 goals in the second half to win the match 5-2. And the star of the night was Vinicius Jr, who scored a hat-trick in 30 minutes, turning the boos into cheers at the Santiago Bernabeu. When Madrid were trailing, the frustrated fans jeered loudly. But Vinicius managed to turn that into applause, even crediting the fans for that win.
We know that when we are at home playing in front of our fans, anything can happen. When we got to the locker room, we were all very quiet. We just listened to the coach and we said only one thing, that if we scored the first goal, we would rally and win. And we did it again.
But the story really is how the tables seem to have turned for the Brazilian, because the same Vinicius was racially abused, targeted and questioned by many in Spain. After last night, he sits a hero for the Real Madrid faithfuls. In fact, what also wowed fans everywhere was how Vinicius ended up celebrating one of his goals, an ode to Madrid's former superhero, Cristiano Ronaldo. That ought to take many people down memory lane back in time. And it isn't just about Vinicius scoring goals here or celebrating like legends that has made him a bit of a favorite here at Madrid all around. Suddenly, it is his humility and the loyalty to that badge that has made this sort of a turnaround truly possible.
I'm always focused on wanting to be at Real Madrid, being with the best players, learning alongside the best players.
Vinicius, of course, made that statement back in 2021 when things were completely different for the footballer. Fans racially abused him all across Spain. It put serious stress on the mental health of the footballer. Despite the resistance and the jibes, the hatred that he had been subjected to, Vinicius had only one thing in mind, and that was to continue staying at Real. And to think it was not just the fans who had it out for him. Back in 2020, Madrid star Karim Benzema even accused Vinicius of not being a team player. This was during a Champions League match against Borussia Mönchengladbach. Vinicius still persisted. He kept telling himself this is where he truly belonged. And now, 3 years later, the footballer is still at Real, winning titles with the club, saving them from losses and having the entire fans turn things around for him. Things have drastically changed for the football star, so much so that the same Benzema who accused Vinicius of playing against Real in 2020 is now backing Vinicius for the prestigious Ballon d'Or. This was something no one would have expected Benzema to say post that incident in 2020, but life does seem to come around, and more so for Vinicius. It isn't just this performance against Dortmund that has established his caliber, but just the way he has helped Real through his career, that makes him one of the biggest stars at the club. Even after Kylian Mbappe's arrival, the 24-year-old Vinicius continues to prove his worth. Even going on to rally around Mbappe, cheering him on, supporting him through the time when things were rough for the Frenchman. Which is why it isn't just Benzema, but also the club manager, Carlos Ancelotti, who has been all praise for this Brazilian.
I think he's going to win it. Not for what he did tonight, but for what he did last year. Last year, he helped us win the Champions League. These 3 goals he scored today, they will help him for the next Ballon d'Or.
Ancelotti there saying that he truly believes Vinicius would win that Ballon d'Or. And he believes Vinicius is the superstar not just for this year, but also for the year to follow. What a journey the last 1 year alone has been for a man who was the most targeted, unloved footballer in all of Spain, who was taunted and ribbed, from breaking down due to racism to his club allegiance being questioned and doubted to now becoming the biggest star at one of the biggest clubs in Europe. It has been quite the turnaround for Vinicius Jr. Time for Last Serve. With the Parasurfing Championship all set for a November showdown, Germany's blind surfer Ben Newman is hoping to grab a gold medal. Catch him training in the hope of that dream getting fulfilled. Take a look. That wraps it up here on Firstpost. What a resilient story to end this show with. But do tune in tomorrow again with more fresh perspectives from the world of sports. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.
Firstpost decodes the U.S. election, explains how America chooses its president. Your primer on the race to the White House. Everything you need to know about how America votes and its global implications. U.S. Election Explained. Every Monday and Thursday only on Firstpost.